We Shall Overcome, the story of a song, written by Debbie Levy, illustrated by Vanessa Brantley Newton. We shall overcome, we shall overcome, we shall overcome someday. I'll be alright, I'll be alright, I'll be alright someday. Black and slavery times, when enslaved people worked long days with no pay and no say, no freedom, no fairness, no choice and no chance, the people sang. They suffered, yet they sang, to soothe the hurt, to fight the cruelty, and declare that, yes, they were human beings. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we'll be alright someday. I'll overcome someday. I'll overcome someday. It took a war, the Civil War, to end slavery, but even after, white people treated black people as less than fully human, excluding them, ignoring them, blaming them, even attacking them, all because of the color of their skin. If in my heart I do not yield, I'll overcome someday. Black people were no longer slaves, it was true, but they were truly free. Still, they believed things would get better. Still, they sang. We will overcome. We will overcome. We will overcome someday. It wasn't easy to believe. It wasn't easy when white people shut out African Americans from good jobs and good pay. Schools and libraries and neighborhoods, restaurants and hotels and bathrooms, trains, cars and bus seats, playgrounds and parks. But Black Americans and some white Americans did believe they could overcome the unfairness, the hate, the violence. They started to protest. They brought a church song, I Will Overcome, to the streets. But since they were marching and working together, they sang, We will overcome. We together were overcome. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we will overcome someday. From the streets, the song reached the ears of city people, country people, followers, and leaders. It reached Martin Luther King, the most important leader. He took the song with him in his heart everywhere he traveled. The words changed a little, but the spirit stayed the same. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. There are many forms of race hatred and many ways to fight it. Some students fought it by sitting down in restaurants. They sat and sat waiting for hamburgers, donuts, and sodas that never came. The students sat and waited until they were arrested. As they were taken away to jail, they sang, We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We are not afraid today. more and more people decided to stand up for rights for African Americans. One small group, the Freedom Singers, traveled 50,000 miles in 9 months to living rooms, concert halls, elementary schools, jails, high schools, and rallies, bringing "We Shall Overcome" to people in 40 states, inspiring them to believe that change was coming. We are not alone. We are not alone. We are not alone today. The biggest gathering of people united in support of fairness for African Americans took place in the nation's capital. Marching toward the Lincoln Memorial, hundreds of thousands of people, black and white, young and old, joined hands, joined voices, and sang, "We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday." Slowly, things were changing. Laws were passed. President Lyndon Johnson gave a speech. His ancestors once held slaves in Texas and Georgia, but President Johnson looked out at the millions of people watching him on television, spoke of equal rights, human rights, and voting rights for African Americans, and recited the words of the song. We must overcome the crippling legacy of bigotry and injustice, and we shall overcome. How could such a song stay in one country? It could not. We Shall Overcome sailed across the oceans to other countries where people faced injustice. It traveled to South Africa, where Black Africans embraced it as their own freedom song in their long struggle against an all-white government that treated them as outcasts in their own land. Black and white together, black and white together, black and white together, someday. We will live in peace. We will live in peace. We will live in peace someday. The song traveled to India, East Germany, South Korea, Czechoslovakia, Northern Ireland, Bangladesh, China, the Middle East, South American. Even as it spread across the globe, the song never really left its American home. It took a very long time, but race and hatred did grow weaker. Freedom grew stronger. And then President Lyndon was followed by another president, and another, and another, and another, and another, and another, and then the people of the United States, black and white, young and old, elected an African American to be their president. On that day, people sang the song that so many voices had sung before in pain and in protest. On that day, they sang in happiness. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. Today, people still struggle against hatred and for freedom, against poverty and for fairness, against despair and for hope. We still sing. We sing to declare that, yes, we are all human beings, deserving of respect, sharing the same planet, the same future, together. The end.